Job chapter 9 verse 7 says, He commands the sun and it does not rise. He seals off the stars. He alone spreads out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. Job chapter 9 verse 9 goes on to say, He made the bear. There's the bear. And Orion, next slide please. It's the belt of Orion. Those 3 stars in a line. And the Pleiades. God spoke our creation into being. Slide 4, please. Photo of the Northern Lights. Next one. Another one of the Northern Lights. Let's go to the book of Genesis. Genesis verse 1. At Genesis chapter 1 verse 3. And that reads, And then God said, Let there be light. And there was light. Genesis chapter 1 verse 9 says, Then God said, Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear. And it goes on to say, in chapter 1 verse 11, Then God said, Let the earth bring forth grass, and the herbs that yield seeds. And it goes on in verse 14, verse 20, verse 24, verse 26. Then God said, God created with his voice. Verse 26 says, Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing. So God created man in his own image. The God who created this, we are made in his image. Go back one slide, please, Sam. The God who created that, we're made in his image. And unfortunately, that's why we get arrogant. Because we think like God does. Please turn to Genesis 3 verse 4. This is all the temptation. And the serpent said to the woman, You will surely not die. For God knows that the day you eat of the fruit, your eyes will be opened. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. So because we know our eyes have been opened, we perceive ourselves as greatness. We just have a different perception to what God wanted us. And it's that arrogance that James talks about in James 4. We'll turn to James 4, please. Stan, we've got James 4 up on the screen. James 4 reads, "Come now, you who say today or tomorrow, we will go to such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell and make a profit. Whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a time and then vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we shall live and do this or that. But now you boast in your arrogance. And we do. We boast in our arrogance. We believe that we can achieve things. But now you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. Therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. It's your choice. It's really your choice. James verse 6 says that, but he gives more grace. Therefore, he says, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So it's really entirely up to us. We have the choice to humble ourselves. We have the choice to be arrogant. And a wonderful example is Solomon. Solomon, when he started his reign, he asked for wisdom. And God gave him wisdom, incredible wisdom. And for a time, Solomon used that wisdom, but then he got arrogant. Please turn to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7. Proverbs 3:7 says, do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Far too often what we do is we give one verse and then, make it fit what we want. Before this, the beginning of Proverbs chapter 3, from verse 1, God says to Solomon, my son, do not forget my law, but let your heart keep my commands. For the length of days and long life and peace they will add to you. Proverbs 3 verse 3 says, let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. And so find favor and high esteem in the sight of God and man. You want favor with man? Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Proverbs 3 verse 5 says, trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Ritu and I were just chatting earlier on this morning, and I was just telling him some stories of the way God has provided for us. And I'm not saying that I have it right. I don't. But in so many ways, God has provided for us. And looking back over the years, we can see the provision of God. And we've acknowledged that He is King. And we continue to do that. And we've trusted in God. And yes, times we've fallen short. And times, we've made mistakes. But I know in my heart that what we've managed to achieve is only through God. Do you understand this? Can you create that with your words? Because I certainly can't. But I know that the God that I serve created that. And I know that He cares for me. So your plans, I beg you, give them to God. Give them to God. Because when you hand over your plans to Him, He directs your paths. He directs you. And then instead of saying, tomorrow we'll go to this city or to that city, and we'll profit and make money, let God lead you. Because our lives are just a fleeting glimpse in eternity. Please, your future, give it to God. Chronicles reads and it says, humble yourselves and God will forgive your sin, heal your land. Humble yourselves and turn from your wicked ways. God will heal your sin, heal the land, forgive your sin. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Let that be the walk of your day.